Hey, let's try to do another one here real quick. This is going to be a little budget ratchet review. This is of that Duratech 3/8" drive, the Teardrop, the newer one that came out here recently. This is the 90 tooth. And these are being made for Duratech by this company here. Duratech is owned by Great Star Industrial. They're the ones that own SK now. And this ratchet seems to be made by the same company that is making the SK ratchets for Great Star Industrial in China. At least that's what it looked like whenever I compared them online. It's in a plastic bag here. Take that out and take a look at it. Looks to have some oil in it or something in it. I can see it kind of seeping out onto the ratchet. This Duratech logo is just, or it looks like it is stamped in there. So that looks good. I like this blue coloring in here. That really kind of sets it off. Boy, that knurling is really aggressive. Boy, look at that. Super grippy. That looks good. It feels good too. I noticed that this is more rounded on this end here. That seems to help out quite a bit whenever you have these things in the palm of your hand and you're really giving her, you know, that nice rounded edge doesn't really seem to hurt your hand as bad as, you know, if you had a sharp end. It's kind of concave there too. Chrome plating looks pretty good on it. I don't see a lot of scratches or dents and dings. I mean, if they are, they're minor. It's like a rub, that's just a rub mark there. So this is a single pawl, floating pawl style design with a thin backing plate, you know, similar to the gear wrench and the Husky Apex style ratchets. The crimping on the ball detent looks really good, nice and well centered. This anvil looks like it was machined after it was forged. That's nice. Doesn't seem to have a whole bunch of back drag on it. The ball detent is pretty solid. Not a lot of back drag. Wow. What about the other way? About the same. These ratchets with this thin back plate are always going to transmit a little bit more gear-to-gear noise than something with a thicker back plate. Not a lot of back drag on it. Alright, let's try to take it open here and see what the guts look like on it. Kind of have too small of a set of snap ring pliers down here. Maybe kind of cantankerous to get this out. There we go. Pretty typical snap ring. Thinner back plate, you know, the back plates on the gear wrench and the Huskies are about 30 thousandths thick, so that's probably about what this one is. Well, it feels a little bit thicker than that. You can see this lube that they have on there, just like a light oil it looks like. No, it's a little thicker than that. Let's check it with the veneers, or calipers rather, digital calipers. So about a 1/16 of an inch thick, so it's a little bit thicker than the gear wrench and the Husky back plate and the Apex style back plates. It's got a nice wide paw. Ooh, I see something in there I like. See this pointed end on this rotates in this groove on this pawl. That pawl is marked HG. With that pointed tip there on that end of that switch is what keeps the works together. If you were to have this in this, I've said this before on a couple different branded ratchets that I've had up there, if you were to have accidentally leave this in, or not be positive about your clicking over here, if you were to leave this in the neutral position, if you didn't have something like this, or like the Milwaukees or Diehards that have a keeper in there, you could accidentally, if you drop this thing and smack it down, it'll spit out that whole switch in the detent and spring, and you'll lose them. I don't see any O-rings or anything on that. I can already see that anvil may be a bear getting back in there. Not a lot of room for your thumb to hold that anvil down, but I've got plenty of other ratchets that are like that. Here's this anvil here. Pretty good machining on it. I like that it's got some oil in it too. Looks like it's like a light brown oil. Oh, excuse me. We'll get out this pawl here. See, this pawl is going to be, can only go in one way because that raised portion of that end of that switch rides in that half round circle there. So I see a H and a G on that side, and then a 90 and a 90T, so 90 tooth designation on there. And this is a separated, well, I've kind of always called these like a split pawl, but it's not a true split pawl. This is just like the new G2 ratchets. See how they actually have a gap in between both sections of the reverse and forward, or tighten and loosening, whatever gears there. It's a pretty wide pawl. So it's got 16 teeth on it. All right, we'll get our detent and spring out of there. There's that guy there. And we'll take a look at this. So that's what I'm talking about. This raised portion of this holds the whole works together, acts as a keeper for this switching mechanism, so you don't lose this switch in pawl detent, because if it's in the neutral position, you're in the neutral position, it would be like this, and if it did not have this keeper on the end, if you were to drop that, since that detent would be collapsed in there, the detent and the spring that's in that hole, the kinetic force of dropping that can shoot it out. Excuse me, the Cobalt ratchets are like that, and the new Toolant ratchets are like that as well. So I really like this. Good on them for going with this design. Alright, let's take a look at the machining on it. And I can see some mill marks in the bottom of it. Some of that light lubrication that's in there. Light brown lubrication. Looks like it's a light machine oil or something. The machining looks pretty good on the inside, other than the mill marks in the bottom, but that's not too bad. Chrome plating looks really good on it. Definitely has my greasy fingerprints all over it. Take a look at that anvil again. No, this looks like a really good, well-made budget ratchet. Doesn't have any O-rings on it. These grooves that are in here, they're just half round grooves. They're really just to hold oil and keep it in there. Let it pull down in the bottom of those grooves. I might have some trouble putting this guy back together. Some of these ratchets that don't have a lot of clearance for your thumb in there, I've had problems getting that pawl back in there. I'll use this Q-tip with this wooden handle on it to help hold that pawl down to give me clearance to put that anvil back in. Alright, we'll put our spring and detent back in there. It's kind of sliding around on my tweezers there. Make sure that that's down in there. We'll switch this over to one side. I have a tendency to set these on the table when I put this style of ratchet back together, just because of that. Just because of not having enough clearance to put a finger in there and hold that pawl down like that. See that? So it needs to be switched over to one side completely. And then we'll use this Q-tip handle as a tool to hold that down while we put the anvil back in. Whoop, I don't need that piece of wood in there. And we can put our pawl back in. There we go. But we can test function it like this because that pawl is captive in there now. It's probably got enough lube in it that I don't want to put any extra in there. They did a pretty good job lubricating this one. Alright, let's get the snap ring and the cover plate back on and finish it up. It's a pretty tight fitting back plate on it as well. Get our snap ring back in. There we go. We'll try to center it up a little bit better for looks. That's good. Well, I'm pretty surprised. You know, I think $9.89 is what I paid for this thing whenever they were having their big spring sale or whatever it was. I'm not sure how much this goes for now. This is the only size they make of this style ratchet, other than they have some long-handled versions, I think, that use the same mechanism, but I have so many long-handled ratchets that I don't really care about getting the... But if they come out with the a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch version of these, I'm going to buy them. If these are made, if the SK Chinese ratchets are made as well as these are, not a lot of play. If they ever come down in price, I'll get those too, but I think they're like 79 bucks or something for the 3, and I think that's just a little bit too much. But no, this is a nice looking ratchet for a made in China ratchet. Whoever this company is that's making them there, they did a pretty good job on this guy. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's got a nice heft to it. That classic handle feels really good in the hand. That knurled grip feels real nice. Alright, Duratech, bring the other 2 sizes out. Let me get those too. I've been messing with a bunch of carburetors on my motorcycles, trying to get them together for riding into work here while it's warmer. And I need to put a new inner tube in one of them. I'm going to use this guy to tear that rear wheel off. No, it looks like a good ratchet. especially for the price, you know. You know, even if this thing was like 15 or 16 bucks, it's probably worth it, especially with this real positive mechanism that it has in there, and the keeper built into that switch, especially for a real inexpensive ratchet. That's real nice to see. So good on them. All right, guys. I think that was a good buy. I think if you're needing a good 3/8 ratchet, you know, pear head style ratchet, it's pretty thin, you know, pretty thin head ratchet on there. I mean, there's thinner ones out there, but that's, you know, half inch thick and 1.25 inches wide. That's great. I don't think you can beat that. You know, if you got to have something that's, you know, you want to have something that's a little bit more nicer and a, you know, a higher tooth count, you know, you can always go to something like that. You know, this First Info ratchet that I showed, but this is a little shorter. This is 108 tooth, but they also have 120 tooth that are about the same size. But if you like this kind of classic style ratchet like we all grew up with in the late 80s and 90s, this looks to be a good one. Good beater ratchet, real nice looking. All right, guys, take care.